Good evening and welcome to Inception podcast. Well, it's good evening in the UK and we're at 8 p.m. You can find Inception podcast on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network, where you can also find some amazing, inspirational and conscious expanding interviews. Also on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network, there are some great podcasts. You have the Forbidden Knowledge News, Beyond Classified, Day Zero, Dawson Files, Raised by Giants, the lovely Ryder Lee, we all love Ryder, Space Daddy, and of course, Inception Podcast. So please check out the webpage, please do. So this evening, I'm having another conversation about consciousness with a very, very lovely lady called Candace. So Candace, give us a brief bio. Who are you in the world? What do you do?
Hello, Gloria. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. My background, if you do the superficial stuff, is I was a business reporter for many years. Mm-hmm. And then I went to the dark side and did public relations for mostly technology companies.
I like that.
But along the way, I finally started what I thought would be the book I wanted to write since I was 13 years old. It turned into a series, and it sort of took over my life. And the reason I was able to do that was I ran across a remarkable woman who became my best friend, my business partner, and eventually, when we were finally allowed to marry, my wife back in 2014. And she saved my life and introduced me to really the reality of consciousness and how all healing starts with consciousness. Yes. So that's me. I mean, my life has been kind of an interesting journey from the pretty conventional to the what most people might consider really very weird.
I like weird because I'm weird and I live in the weird world. Thank you for that. So, Candace, we have 8 doors to go into, and it doesn't really matter which door we go into first, but having spoke to you previously, we're going to go door number 1, and we're just going to have a conversation from your truth of consciousness, from obviously within that. What is the human experience that you're having now? What is it? What is it?
Well, it's the experience. A human experience is the experience of a soul or a spirit or whatever label you want to put to that in a material dimension. Mm-hmm. There's a beautiful film called Duma. It is about consciousness in a way, but it's also about meeting people and loving people and letting them go when they die. And a young boy has to learn how to do that. And he's in Africa, and he meets up with a man who's doing his own running away. But anyway, the man likens just being, to a flow, a river. And that's what I think of consciousness as, this great flow, this great river throughout eternity and through all of what we think of as space. That is the flow of consciousness. When you come into your human existence, it's like you step off into the riverbank and you live for a while on that riverbank, having your human existence. And then when your time here is over, your consciousness, your soul moves back into that flow and goes again until it finds another shore where it wants to have a physical existence. That's my limited understanding of it.
That is so not limited. That was profound and it was beautiful. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, we're definitely on to a good start here. So now we're going to go down the rabbit hole a bit more. Okay.
All right.
So you've described the human experience from your truth very profoundly, I must add. So the second door is then who am I that is experiencing this profound and beautiful journey? So who are you? Who am I?
I define myself as a created soul growing into who I am and fully can be. I believe that limits are limits on self-love and love, because to me, everything is love, including consciousness. It does not always express in ways that we regard as loving, but to me, the foundation of everything is love. And if you look at every major religion and all the minor religions in the world, they say that God or source or universal mind or whatever label you want, they all say God is love.
Mhm.
And we all tend to just go, oh, that's neat from a sort of intellectual perspective. But what they really mean is that quite literally, God is love.
Mhm.
But you cannot separate love from consciousness, because however warped and twisted consciousness is, and there are reasons for that,
Mhm.
at its fundamental essence, consciousness is love.
Beautiful. So you are love.
Love growing into more love, becoming less limited in love.
Beautiful.
That's what we all strive for. We strive, all of us, in our own muddled ways.
Mhm.
We strive to feel more love. We desperately want to feel more love because too many of us don't feel love.
Mhm. Beautiful.
So that's what I'm doing. I am,
Oh.
in my own way, trying to find my backside in broad daylight with both hands. I am trying to be more loving toward me. And if I'm more loving toward me, I will be more loving toward everyone else.
Love
It
it.
really isn't about doing. I mean, we're a society of, first thing we ask is, well, what do you do for a living when we meet someone?
Yes, I agree with you.
If we were wiser, we would say, who is your being?
Mm.
Who be you? Not what do you? Who be you?
Yeah, I like that. Let's change. I'm always changing terminologies and language, especially with Robert. Robert does it, the non-Italian Robert, and I think that's a good one, because I've noticed over the years that one thing that was one of the hardest things for me to, it was like an automated process of the mind. I must be doing something. It was a doing. And I remember that. And you're always doing. And you're so busy doing, you miss life. You miss every emotion that is just there waiting. So I like that. What are you being? And
Well, and the thing is that there's a reason for that doing. I mean, most people get caught up in the doing because that's what's expected of them.
mm-hmm.
And the expectation of a collective group of people known as society is a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
But also when you're doing, and I'm, guilty as charged. When you're doing, you can ignore if you're feeling bad. All right.
Mm-hmm.
If you're feeling whatever you're uncomfortable feeling, if you get busy doing, you can ignore it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. No, I like that. I'm going to just jump straight into door number 4. And that I always have an agenda when I'm having a conversation, but I'm going to go straight into door number 4. With that you've just expressed, and we've got this picture, and we're going, and that's the foundation of this conversation. We're going to drop right down the rabbit hole. We got our chairs, our coffee, our Marmite. We got our mum. Well, I got crisps actually. You can have it on toast. I like it on toast as well, so I might have both. What is this reality? Now, when I say that, I want to say it in context. So I always back it up with, some people say their truth. There's no right or wrong. We all interpret it differently from our own perception. Some say it's a simulation. Some say it's a matrix. Some say it's an illusion. I use analogies. It's obviously for conversation. One of them is, it's like a dream world. However, I'm in a film, sorry. I'm watching the film, but I'm an actor in the film at exactly the same time. So I'm the observer and I'm the experiencer. So that's roughly for me in this reality. So from your truth, and we all know truths can change as we expand, but at this present time, what is your understanding, your truth or knowing of what is this 3D reality that we're in?
I would call this reality a vibration.
Okay.
I hope people will understand that everything that exists, including consciousness and love, is based on vibration.
Yeah.
In order to exist, you must vibrate. Even if you only vibrate a little bit, even if you just wiggle a tiny bit, you have to vibrate.
Yeah.
And this is this 3D reality consists of a certain range of interrelated vibrational frequencies. All right. And the reason that math is so helpful is that math is the language of vibrational frequencies, which is why math can tell us a lot, but not everything about our world and what we perceive as space.
Yeah.
But this dimension is simply a range of vibrational frequencies. That's my current understanding of it.
I concur, absolutely. I'm cheeky. Would you say again the Einstein equation? Yeah, E equals mc squared and its relation, and what you told me the other day, because I found that very interesting.
Well, I personally, and I've read a lot about Einstein, E equals mc squared is sort of the shorthand for genius in our world. But it's really his fundamental equivalence equation. And in one stroke, he overturned Newtonian physics, which posited that energy is energy and matter is matter, and they're separate. What Einstein demonstrated in that equation is that energy and matter are fundamental equivalents. They're different representations of the same thing.
Yeah.
My understanding of this equation is that Einstein didn't really go far enough, because you have to understand what energy really is, because again, energy exists because of vibration. There is the scientific material definition of energy, which is the ability to do work or to get things done. Heat boils water, which turns a piston, which drives an energy generator and gives you electricity. Or it drives a different piston in a locomotive and gets you a train rolling down the track. Motion. That is the ability to do work, to get things done. That's the scientific, limited material definition of energy.
Yeah.
The spiritual, not so limited definition of energy is the ability to love. The greater the energy, the greater the ability to love. And thus, the ultimate source of love, we go back to that statement, God, Allah, whatever, the Great Spirit is love. The Great Spirit then is the ultimate highest source, the most profound, highest love. That is unconditional love, meaning unlimited love, unlimited vibration.
Unlimited energy.
Unlimited energy.
Unlimited.
Bingo, precisely. So that is I've come over that through many years of talking to my spirit guides, who have talked to other spirit guides, a group of healers in spirit I call the Sunan Society, and they're very loving beings, and they work with me when I do an energy-based healing therapy called Sunan therapy. I do it on myself because I have to right now, because my wife and Sunan therapist passed away last year. So I have talked at length with members of the Sunan Society, and one of them is a very, very interesting being who calls himself Magari. And he's very loving, and he's the one who gave that definition of energy to the Sunan Society, and they passed it to me. And the whole story of how I got that definition of energy is just hilarious. You want a silly anecdote?
Go on then.
All right. Well, I was in the work world for many years, and during one of my jobs, I was a member of a group called Toastmasters, which helps you learn to make better speeches.
Mm-hmm.
And you meet once a week, and you listen to everybody's speeches, and you grade them and comment on them, and it's fun. It helps you. It helps you grow.
Mm-hmm.
So one time, I'm sitting and trying to listen and to a colleague's speech, and prepared to make my comments and tell him, I think it's good. Here's where I thought you could improve, or great job. And all of a sudden, a being who I call Dr. Sunan, very Teutonic, stuffy, dead person, drops in and says, "You have to listen to this." And I'm like, "Bug off, spook. I'm busy." He said, "No, you have to listen to this." So I find myself doodling E equals MC squared.
Yeah.
Energy, energy equals the ability to love.
Yeah.
And the poor guy finished his speech, and I was gone. I mean, I couldn't tell him anything. I couldn't give him a slip for there, because I was gone for about 20 minutes just listening to what that was. So that's how I found out about it. That was back, I think, in 1992 or 93. So yeah, I've had interactions with quote unquote dead people, simply because consciousness cannot die. It's energy. And science tells you energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It only goes to a different being, different state.
Yeah.
All right. So going back to E equals MC squared, that is really a mathematical equation or representation of what happens to your consciousness when you die. It becomes energy. Mm-hmm. Energy means matter accelerated by the speed, not of light, the speed of consciousness, which is a duality: male, female, dark, light, push energy, pull energy, yin, yang. So when consciousness acts on matter, the result is energy.
Absolutely beautiful. I love that. And thank you for the extra bit. I had to throw that in sneakily there, because I thought it was so interesting when we were talking yesterday. Now, what you've brought into the conversation there, when we're going to go into door number 5, is really relevant because of the beings. Okay. So the door number 5, we're now, way down the rabbit hole. We're there for the night. We can't get out now. We're going deep, 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 deep. And
okay.
This door is asking, when we open it, what is ET? Now, I always say, when I'm in the conversation, ET is an umbrella for ET, angels, dimensional beings, light beings, spirit being, not spirit as in those that have passed across. I'm not talking there, but whatever understanding the individual person has and the label they call them. You have obviously had interaction with beings that have given you this information. So can you tell me, from your understanding, your truth, what is ET that is in our 3D reality that's interacting with us?
I couldn't give you, I've never had the classical, I was taken by extraterrestrials experience. I respect the people who have had it and know that something did happen to them that obviously affected them very profoundly. But that's not been my experience. Ever since I was a little kid, I never really understood all the flapdoodle over there might be aliens. I mean, I guess it was because of my past life experiences with Magari. I'm like, okay, yes, we're not the only intelligent life in this universe.
Yeah.
What's the big deal? But that's me, a little kid. I didn't, really know, much about, politics and power plays and all that stuff. So I suspect that there are multiple groups of beings who interact. I know that in my past lives, Magari and his comrades, he calls them interdimensional beings. All right.
I've heard that. Yeah.
And they have interacted with human beings. They haven't really been happy with results because human beings have taken their knowledge and abused it and used it against each other. So they don't really appear anymore. I mean, they will appear, they don't really appear to me so much in a physical form as they used to, but they will talk to you via consciousness through your soul senses or psychic senses or whatever label. Okay, through your intuition.
Yeah.
I get intuitive messages from them, and that's how they communicate now. But to me, ET is just simply beings, consciousness that take forms that are not necessarily human, but they're just as valid. They're just different. That's all.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I love that. Okay, right. Now we're going to door number 6. And on the back of what you've just answered, how are we connected to them? Now, we've obviously, by your statements, previous statements, it's consciousness, because everything is consciousness, everything is energy. So we're, in our discussion, they're conscious, energetic beings in different shape or form. But we've humanity in the history we are aware of, that we know of, from cave paintings or writings, or even in some of the religious scriptures, they've always been here. Okay, so do you have a truth or any understanding of how we're connected to them? Why are they, why are they so close with us or interacting with us?
That to me would be, on my part, that would be purely guesswork. Although I know that
it doesn't matter if it's guesswork. What it's your truth. You're guessing. You go for it.
Well, with human beings as my guide, and I admit that's a limited guide. My guess is some of them don't have very benign intentions. I would guess that others have sort of maybe what you might call a scientific curiosity about us as life forms, if you will.
Yeah.
I know that the beings that I have interacted with have a loving intent, an intent to impart knowledge, wisdom, and a little humility to anybody who's willing to listen and open up their soul senses and get the message.
Why though? Why do you think that? What's the connection? Why do you think we are connected like that with them?
Well, the healer in me has to answer that.
Go for it.
And it all comes back to, in the energy, in consciousness, we are all part of consciousness as a collective. All right. In Ekankar, you call it an atom in the mantle of God. Yeah. All right. I'll buy that. That makes sense. But what we don't know is that we all say, as above, so below. Well, as below, so above. All right. It's a two-way street. It's not just a one-way street.
Yeah.
And every time one of us heals, and by healing, I have a very specific definition of healing. And I mean, release a self-judgment, replace it with unconditional love, and become more loving towards self. That's what I call healing.
Yep.
Every time we do, guess what? It heals the rest of us, all of us, human beings, non-human beings. We all benefit every time, just as we are all wounded every time one of us commits a violation of another's free will. Whether that's a murder or a rape or a theft or something, all right?
Yeah.
We are that interconnected. And those who want all of us to experience more joy and peace in our lives, whatever our lives are like, whether they're in physical reality or non-physical reality, all of us, I believe, all of those, at least the ETs I've run across, are trying to help those of us who truly want to heal. That's their intent.
Okay. That was beautiful. And if that's your guess, God help us all, because that was beautiful. And I do resonate with that. I do. I term it differently, but it's the same. And I do use most podcasts, to put it out for any new viewers to the podcast. We're both having a human experience. However, it's going to be totally different due to multiple things: beliefs, concepts, ideas, ideologies, faith, blah, blah. And it's the same thing. My analogy is, I've got an orange, I'm going to cut it in half and give you half, and I'm going to have half, and we're both going to eat the orange. So we both experience the orange. However, our experiences are totally different, and how we vocabularize what we felt, the sensations and everything. So I resonate with what you said in regards to that. I'm loving this conversation. So you've already touched on in door 7, door 6 rather, you've already touched on door 7. Why are they here? Well, possibly you haven't, and I've misconstrued it. Because as you were saying it, I thought, so from your truth, that's why they're here. But so I'm just going to ask you the question. Door number 7, we're camping out for the night now. We're not going home now. There's nowhere to go. We're right down there until we get the answers to everything we need to know. Okay?
Okay.
Why are they here? And on all podcasts, what I do, because I know some will say, well, they've always been here. Yes, they have always been here. They've always interacted. I'm fully aware of that. However, the times we're in now, and I always use the word because I can't find a word from my truth that really explains the acceleration of contact and paranormal, is the increase with contacts with humans is exponential. Exponential, not just sightings of organic UFOs, consciousness in form, but with contact, and not just as in physical contact, as in seeing, also in what many call downloads, information. Again, I wouldn't shout out to Robert, who calls them etchings. I like that because it's creative information. That is exponentially. I mean, I know that personally, and I know many that are going through the same. And also many that have never been interested in this over the past year and recent months. Downloads, creativity coming through, information coming in, and they know there's an energy there, but they just don't perceive it. So what's your truth on this? Why are they here?
Well, let me start by saying I believe that we are living through that ancient Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times.
Yes. I think we are actually. It is very.
We are living in interesting times, unfortunately. And maybe some of them are here out of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think some of them are responding to our unvoiced plea for help.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are pleading for help. Mm-hmm. I can feel that in the energy. People are, unfortunately, many of them are desperate and hanging on by their fingernails, and they want help, and they're just asking for it. Please, we need help. Help me. Help this world.
Yeah.
And we all have different ideas of what help can be.
Yeah.
But I think that they're responding to that. And some, again, like I say, have very benign intent. Some probably don't have the same benign intent, but that's what they're responding to, okay, to my best guess.
No, that's absolutely fine. I mean, it's, for me, no one knows the complete truth. We can only go in what the truth we have in the now, and each moment it expands the next conversation you have, and it gives you more choice to bring on board everything, because no one knows. If anyone, that's just my truth. If anyone says I know it all, then I just walk away, because you can't know until you've experienced, basically. You've experienced a better understanding of what's going on. You can have a viewpoint like you do, I do, and millions of us do. But I do agree, it's not help coming in, because my truth is I don't follow the savior. No one is coming to save me. No one is coming to save me. I do the work on myself and save my bloody self. That's just me, my work, my experience. However, there's a difference that needs to be clarified in having a savior syndrome come and save me than asking for help. And as you said, because we are so connected by consciousness, and we all individually are going, God or Jesus or beings or anybody or universe, what do I do? What's happening? That is a call for help, but not help as you would define it in the English dictionary. Does that make sense to you? So it's a vibration going out saying, I need some support. I don't quite know what to do. Show me what to do, but not in the help. Does that make sense to you, that one?
Well, yeah, it's the sort of, when you help someone, do you try? I mean, I've talked about this with my clients. There's help, and then there's help. If you march in and take over, you're not helping. You're trying to control.
No.
But if you ask someone with all respect, is there a way I can help you? Is there something I can, Do
you have another choice for me? Can you show me another choice? Because it's all about choice, isn't it? So,
well, it's really the ones who have benign intent are happy to show us and discuss with us what our options are. See, we all get tunnel vision, and we narrow our focus out of fear or desperation or whatever, and we think, the only two options are shit or go blind, and neither one of them is really very appealing. All right?
Yeah.
But what the Sunan Society and what my guides do and what Magari has done is saying, wait a moment, whoa, those are not the only options. Have you considered this? Have you looked at it this way? They're helping us expand our vision and think of more options and explore whether or not those would work with us. Because again, it's up to us to do our healing and to make those decisions, to take responsibility for who we are, not just what we do, but our being, who we are, our character, our essential, our consciousness, to take responsibility for our consciousness. All right. And when you take responsibility for your consciousness, then you start to have the power to do something for yourself.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with that one. Really, I am. Right.
But yeah, let's define responsibility for a minute, because some people
go ahead.
Responsibility literally means only respond to your actual ability, not what someone says you ought to do or you think you ought to do, but what actual ability you have. All right. Now, if I came across somebody who was bleeding to death, I wouldn't be able to do surgery on this person. I could apply a tourniquet and call for help. All right. That's within my ability. That's my responsibility. So you have to distinguish what truly is within your ability and go with that. And what somebody else says, oh, this is your duty or your responsibility. And I'm like, no. If it's not within my ability, it's not my responsibility.
Oh, I like that statement. I like that. That's very powerful. I like your definition of responsibility.
It's designed to give you the power that you actually have, rather than pretend power or, because again, like say you're a worker in a company and you don't set company policy. So you cannot be responsible for the problems, if any, that company policy brings about, because you literally don't have the authority to do it. A lot of people are saddled with no authority, but lots and lots and lots of accountability. which is a no-win situation for them.
Well,
And you have to
yeah.
chuck it off and say, hey, if it's not within my ability to affect, it's not my responsibility.
No, I love your definition. I love that. That was really interesting. I might make that statement to my children when they want something. And then I'll say, just blame Candace. It's nothing to do with me. It was Candace. Okay, right.
Okay.
We're now gonna go into the final door number 8. Doesn't mean the conversation's over. And it's a very multi. I'm having these podcasts, and the more that I have them, the more I realize that question, that door, when I open it, is multifaceted in many ways, which is beautiful because it's expanding my consciousness as I have these conversations, and I'm learning through every conversation I have. I go away and I go, never thought about that. Oh yeah, I never looked at that before. So I'm loving it. So door number 8, okay, and the rabbit hole's closed. We're there. We're in a different total reality, okay? We're not in 3D no more. We're down there with Alice, okay? Why are the ETs dimensional beings at this now? So we're in September 2021. And as I've previously said, I want to expand on the previous door we opened, expand more. Why are they so interested in us? And I'm going to say something first, because it's so multifaceted, because you could take it down any avenue you want to, this question. But the one I would like to address was what you've touched on before that we're going to expand upon here, is the downloads or etchings or channeling, whatever terminology anyone uses, that's coming through, where majority that I'm aware of, we're getting like this urgency, something, not fearful, it's not fear, but there's an urgency, and they're bringing this urgency in. I have been personally on a daily basis, 2 weeks, getting this information. And each day it's more profound and powerful. So I come from that aspect of it. At this time, why are they so interested in us, do you think? In 2021, September.
Well, I think that right now, if you look at where we are politically as a world, we're on a precipice, and we're deciding whether we want to go back to full-blown authoritarianism or continue with participatory democracy. And participatory democracy has not been the human experience for very long, only a couple of 100 years.
Yeah.
And it's not the human experience now in a good deal of the world, although they would like it to be.
Yes.
So I think right now we're deciding, do we want to continue to have democracy and go that route, or are we going to backslide into authoritarianism? And I don't know what the answer is to that. I don't think anybody knows, but I do know that if enough of us have a consciousness where we want, and our intention is to uphold and support democracy in consciousness alone, that will be very, very powerful and help.
Yes, I resonate with that. I would express it differently, but I resonate, and you very politically correctly, that was a terrible grammar there, said it perfect for the podcast. I have a truth. I don't know the answer. People keep asking me. I always say, and I don't mean to say it in a derogative way, or I never mean to say it in a belittling way. Go find your truth, because you cannot experience my truth. It's my consciousness. Yours is individual. We're in the collective, but you must, otherwise you're just taking on another belief system from somebody else. So for mine, I concur with what you've said. There is, I've used the term event horizon because I just see it. It's there, the precipice. It's there. When I'm talking in communication. However, I always back that up with my truth is I am aware. It's a bit like a deja vu, really. Or how can I say it? Well, I've been there, done it, and come back and going through it again. Something. Maybe I didn't get it right last time, but we've done it, and this is just the. I mean, I'm an optimist. I don't need to be an optimist. We've done it, and we're just experiencing this part. It's like a deja vu, though. It really is for me like a day that we've already done it, but it doesn't stop you experiencing it again. So obviously there must be something humanity needs to do to free and expand it. I don't know, but at the moment it's hovering there. But I'm aware, but there's an urgency, and it's been for some time, and it's increasing. And people are messaging me and saying they're getting this. The time is now. Wake up, wake up, wake up, and I get it all the time. And running parallel along that, as I spoke to you yesterday. You know how we do the individual work on ourselves, the healing, the letting go. Even those that really don't call themselves spiritual are saying to me, what's going on? It's all this. And I was crying today and I remembered this and I forgot about that. And so the emotional work, the energy work at this time, that is increasing exponentially. And I speak personally for myself for the past 2 weeks. I'm exhausted. I'm saying to stop, give me a tea break. But it doesn't work. It just, after what I told you yesterday, I spent a whole day with it today. And it was just, I'm tired, So I agree with what you're saying. I just have other truths that are it's just my experience. I'm experiencing this. There is an urgency. And what you stated about your democracy and your, sorry, what was it?
Autocracy. Another word.
I could say that word, guys. I just forgot what she said. When I get in my zone, I don't know what I'm saying half the time. And the balance is there. And I look at that, when I see that, and I've been shown that, the 3D world, to experience a 3D world, to experience being a Homo sapiens sapien, you must experience polarity. You have to experience polarity. And what we call the dark side, in brackets, and the light side, in the other brackets, it seems, my way of interpreting this, which is so on, the dark energy or the authoritarian energy is pushing down on the light, conscious, awake energy, but only to awake it to who it truly is. That is actually, is my truth, what is actually going on. So with that, there can be no fear. If you're fully aware, if you change the way you look at things, I think we should look at change. Wayne Dyer, 101, love that guy. So I see it like that, but then there's still this urgency. And I think you've hit the nail on the head when you spoke about the balance, the two polarities that are there. We have choice. And our consciousness, we are responsible for what we experience. We are responsible for our reality, our timeline. It's a choice. Do you? I go on.
I do, but I want people to understand when I say that and agree with it, I am not blaming people.
No,
all right?
there's no blame. There is no blame. It's no. Who can you blame if you know who you are? It's consciousness. I mean, I totally agree with you. There is no blame. No one is doing anything. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow. I respect other people's truth. That's my truth. There is no blame. And if you've lived as long as I have, God, I'm old. I feel it today. All my past experiences I had at the time, I thought, well, oh God, and they're bad, they're this and that. But now it's always hindsight, which is a bitch, but you need it. You look back and you realize there was a learning, there was a revealing, there was, oh, I didn't know. I expressed my consciousness like, sorry, an arsehole. I didn't know I was offending people. You know, the people all say nasty things about me. But then look at yourself, look in the mirror. It will reflect back. So, but that's individual. There is no blame. What happens to you? Does that resonate with you? Or do you have a better?
I don't have a better, but I'd like to add this perspective.
Oh, good.
There is blame, but what happens to you depends on it all goes back to consciousness. What is your level of self-love?
Yes.
Where within you not loving yourself?
Yeah.
Because every person in this world, every person walks around with self-judgment in their energy field of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't in your mental body. It's not in your conscious mind. It is in your subconscious mind and your unconscious mind, your emotional and your spiritual bodies.
Yeah.
So the traditional talk and thought mental therapies are not going to get to these self-judgments. Mm-hmm. Behavioral therapy is like trying to, I don't know, after the barn is empty, kind of put the horse back in there. Yeah. It doesn't work because it only addresses the mental body and your physical actions, which are in fact the result of how you feel about yourself and your beliefs at a spiritual level.
I agree.
So the only way you find self-judgment is to go into your emotional body, your subconscious mind, and allow the story behind the judgment to come up so that you can make a new decision. And when you do that and you release the self-judgment, you heal, you grow in love automatically, and you become less vulnerable to all the ways in which, because again, you know, the saying, Gurdjieff, the philosopher, says, your being attracts your life.
Yep.
Most people really don't want to hear that who they are has attracted a whole bunch of bad experiences to them.
I agree with that one. I agree. I was that person way back. I blamed every mother fudger, and it was nothing to do with me. I agree with you. And that is one of the hardest things. You know, where we call it the ego, where the ego really, you know, it holds on tight, you know, to blame another. However, you know, there is, guys, if anyone says, well, how the hell do you get out of this? There's multiple ways. Not one way is the right way. We are, we are all individual conscious beings, and we're all experiencing 2021 together. However, we're all experiencing it differently. Now, I'll just give my truth, how I found, at one point, I loathed myself. There wasn't a bigger loather than I attempted suicide when I was a teenager. It was that bad. It really was, you know. So I'm showing you, I'm not laughing at it. I've been there. Boy, have I been there. My way that I found that worked for me, that taught me, I never believed I could love myself. I thought I was unlovable. And I'm sure Candace is going to give her way and pick one or another or none, or go and seek other ways. For me, it's when I had an awakening and truly understood and knowing who I was.
Mm-hmm.
Not just, I had the intellectual understanding, the academic understanding. I could verbalize it to the cows come home. But it was when I had the awakening to who I was, and I realized, and I felt this unconditional love. It used to come in increments at first. And then I asked, who is this? And then I had the realization, like a self-realize, it was me.
Mm-hmm.
How could I hate me? My humanness can be an arsehole and mess up and, but I can't. As soon as that occurred, a shift happened, and then I started working on just like little things that were going around me. So how would you, what, is that the same way with you, or do you have another way to work on this, to find out who you truly are?
The way that I do it is well, partly I'm also working with a wonderful chiropractor who practices chiropractic neurology.
Yeah.
But the way that started for me was to find something called Sunon therapy, which works in that emotional energy.
Mm-hmm.
Because we live out of our feeling body, our emotional body. That's where our heart is, right? And whatever we feel about ourselves is our reality, and how we feel about ourselves comprises all of our wisdom and all of our lessons learned, but it also comprises all the lessons we haven't learned and all the self-judgments we still keep about ourselves. So I'm for any method that will help people get lovingly into their emotional bodies and find only those self-judgments they are emotionally prepared to examine and release.
Lovely.
You can't push this process. You get bad results when you try to push it.
Mm-hmm.
So you just do that in a loving way and find those emotional self-judgments whether I'm unworthy or I'm angry or I'm guilty or whatever it is.
My favorite one used to be I'm stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't achieve anything. You don't achieve nothing if you believe you're stupid. And then you say, why don't I achieve anything? In my case, once I overcome that, I ended up in university. I went, I'm not stupid. That was someone else's belief telling me I was stupid. And so,
which psychologists call the process internalization.
Yeah.
Well, that's a label applied to a mystery because they don't really know how you internalize it. I can tell you how you internalize it.
Go.
You hear someone say you're stupid or you're unworthy or you're bad or whatever, and then you say, oh, at the emotional level, you don't do it consciously, but subconsciously say, they're right. I am unworthy. I am helpless. I am stupid, whatever. Also, you don't even need someone outside of you. If you have a traumatic experience, whatever that traumatic experience is, you will make judgments as a way of trying to understand what is happening to you.
Yeah.
It's a way of trying to distance yourself from what is happening to you, from the trauma or the pain or the whatever. All right. You will make those self-judgments. The unfortunate thing is that your emotional energy is magnetic energy, not electric energy.
No, it's magnetic.
Those self-judgments get locked into your magnetic energy, and you can't wish them away. You can't think them away. You can't analyze them away.
No.
You have to go back to them and love them away.
Yeah, I totally agree. As you're fully aware what occurred with me yesterday morning with a past thing that just popped its head up. I am in total agreement with you. Well, coming to the close of the conversation, and honest, I've loved it. It's just been beautiful, and you've got me thinking about a few things. So if you could give a message to our audience, and it's on consciousness, on anything, but either how to, more likely you're going to go for the healing because that's who you are. You're a healer. What would you share with them? The best way forward, if they're watching and listening, going, I really like what Candace says. I like that. Okay. how can I find out more? So what would you say? Because this is what the work that you're doing. The reason I'm making this extra statement is because the work you're doing is on consciousness. So it's going to be valuable to the individual being and to the collective. So what would you say? What could they do?
I would tell them to set their intent to find someone who can help them, and to be aware that, you know, long ago, an American president said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And right now, we need that message. Yeah. I will tell them, do not fear yourself. Do not fear yourself. Do not fear others. You are more powerful than perhaps you believe. You are consciousness. You are love. You are worthy. You are magnificent. And I wish you every success in going out and finding a way to help you claim and live that truth in your own special way.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining me for this conversation, Zoom to Zoom. And the lovely Candace will be on Open Minds, but it won't be to 2022, January, because obviously we've got the holiday seasons coming up at the end of the year. But thank you so much, Candace. Just hold on there. Oh, bless you. Thank you. It's been beautiful. That made me quite emotional. So, you know, I've got a reputation, Candace. You know, I can't be. No, seriously. Thank you. Right, guys. Now for the professional, serious bit. Otherwise, that Chris Matthew would just chop my head off. Right. Thank you for watching Inception Podcast again. Don't forget, you can find us on Forbidden Knowledge News Network. There are some amazing podcasts on there and conversation, and the variety of conversation. So you can have like Inception Podcast, which is consciousness, spiritualist. You could have it. I'm not going to say what the others are. Go and have a look. You might find something that really works for you to get more information. And I thank you for joining our conversation this evening. Until we meet again, it's bye from me. Bye, guys.